And we're back again in the short rows with the Mingo Grange. Thank you for being here. We had a great forum over at Plainview a couple of weeks ago, and we've invited many of those candidates to come with us to sit with us at a more informal setting. And tonight we have with us Miss Cashie Phillips Lee, candidate for Clerk of Court in Sampson County. Welcome, Cashie. You're in the short rows of the Mingo Grange.
Thank you, Aaron. It's nice to be here. Thanks for having me.
We're glad to have you. I just think an informal setting just to have a conversation. I think the first question is, what did you think about the forum a few weeks ago?
I thought the forum was excellent. The Mingo Grange, in combination with the Plainview community building, it was very informative. I'll tell you, Aaron, I have some friends that went to the forum, and really they went to support me, but upon leaving, they said, Cashie, I learned so much about all the candidates. I now will be involved in future forums so that I can see what the candidates are about. So I think it was excellent for the community.
Well, that's good to hear. I think all of us thought it was a success, and we're glad that you were there and that all the candidates came. We had such a great slate.
We did.
Like 70 people there.
Yes.
I thought it was wonderful.
It was.
One of the things that stuck with me that you said when you first got up to the mic, you said, I'm feeling nostalgic. I'm in the Plainview Gym. They're going to call it a civic center or a community center, but it's always going to be the Plainview Gym,
yes.
right? But one of the things that you said, I'm feeling nostalgic. I'm in the Plainview Gym again. So what was it like growing up in Plainview? That's your home. That's your stomping grounds.
It is. It was wonderful. Plainview was K through 8, and there's not many K through 8 schools left. And I just remember the creaky floors in the school. It was a different time of then. I know we're in different times now, but like my mom would drop us off at the grill next door. We'd get us a sandwich with Miss Glenda, and then we go off to school. So a lot of times Mama just left us there, and we'd walk to school. After school ball games, practices, we'd always walk over to the store next door, get candy, wait for Mom to pick us up. It was rural living at its best, and I have a lot of great memories.
I would agree with you. I mean, that kind of lifestyle is what we want to protect, right? I mean, that's how we grew up. We wanted to save it for our own children. But Plainview was a really cool place. I was a Midway kid, but we used to go to this for the Halloween carnival.
Oh, those were the best.
And it was, and I agree with you with the floors. The floors in that place, they look like glass. I mean, I think the clear coat on those floors was that deep.
It was.
They were just beautiful. The floors in that building.
And another thing a memory I have is our bathrooms. We had to walk outside to go to the bathroom.
Really?
You had to walk out the door to outside all the bathrooms, and none of the stalls had hooks. So we always had teamwork to go to the bathroom. Can you hold my door? Will you hold my door? And that's what we did. And it was just a normal thing for us. And looking back, kids today wouldn't know what to do if they had to teamwork and hold each other's door to use the bathroom.
I think we're going to need to do an episode just on Plainview School. That'd be a good episode. So from Plainview, K through 8, you went to Midway High School, Midway alum.
Yes.
How about it?
I loved high school life. I think it's very interesting at Midway how we had the Plainview, Clement, and Midway feeder schools into Midway High School. So you kind of knew who you were going to be meeting, but then you didn't because you hadn't been to school with them. So it was a very unique experience. I loved high school. I was very active in high school. I played volleyball, basketball, and softball. I was active in the student government. I was student government president my senior year, so I've always been active, and it was real easy for me to make friends. I didn't want to miss school in high school because I was scared I'd miss out on something, but I wanted to be at school every day. Now, also because my dad, he had strict rules, girl. We weren't allowed to miss school unless you were really sick. So, but for me, high school, I was very good at the social aspect, and I loved it.
Yeah, well, Midway was a great place then. I mean, we were there about the same time.
Yes.
And I remember you. It was a good place. So, after Midway, where then?
I went to school at East Carolina, and I didn't decide what I wanted to major on, so I had to, came home and figured out what I wanted to do, and that's when I got my job in the clerk's office.
Okay.
And when I got my job in the clerk's office, truly, I started working in the clerk's office because I needed a job. And I hadn't made a career path in what I wanted to major in. I had skipped from communications to business and just didn't know what I wanted to be when I grew up, to be quite honest. And I think that the Lord put me in that clerk's office because I absolutely loved working there from day one. I enjoyed helping the public. And from there, I said, okay, I want to advance. I want to move up. So I had a few classes left to take from where I came home from ECU, and I finished that up at University of Mount Olive.
Oh yeah, okay.
So I shortly after starting the clerk's office, finished that up. So I had my bachelor's degree in business management, and that gave me the tools so that I could start looking for other jobs. And I'll tell you, I'm going to trainings with the clerk's office. The people that held my trainings, I was like, I want to do that. I want to train clerks. I want to travel around, and we had people that would come to our office and show us how to do things. And maybe if we had questions, someone would come and we'd procedurally show us the right way and resources of how to find the answers. And I said, I want to do that. And in 2012, that's what I did. I applied for a job with the Administrative Office of the Courts to, in fact, I think back then it was called a court analyst is what it was. No, court services analyst is what I was first hired as. And at that time, there was only about 12 of us across the state.
Oh, wow.
So there was a small number of us that covered, you had a territory. And back then we had training centers, and I was the manager of a training center in Martin County.
Okay. So
that's how I started. That's how I transitioned from the clerk's office to the administrative office of the courts.
Well, what do you think? In that initial clerk's office position that you had, what was the favorite part of the job that kind of attracted you to that field, that work?
Well, when I started in the clerk's office, I'm going to be honest, Aaron, I didn't know very much about the court system at all. I really hey, it's a good state job. You get a good state job. I really didn't go into it with the interest of the court system or the judicial branch at all. But it has set up a very nice career for me, and it was a very smart move for me back then, and I am appreciative of the opportunities I've had. But in the job as deputy clerk, my favorite thing was I was the bond forfeiture clerk. And I'll never forget, I came home from work one day, and I was living with my parents. We sat down to eat supper, and I said, Mama, Daddy, I was young, I was 24 years old. I said, do y'all know what a bond forfeiture is? And we all kind of talked, and this was still at a time where we didn't just get our phones out and Google everything, and we kind of talked out what we thought it was. I said, because I'm going to be in charge of bond forfeitures. That's going to be one of my job duties, and I've got to figure this out. And we had, looking back, we had this somewhat of a intelligent conversation about it, but I became the bond forfeiture subject matter expert for the state of North Carolina when I started working for the AOC.
And you were forced to do that.
They said you know it, and I did that for quite some years.
Yeah.
And I still to this day bond forfeitures, and they just have a very unique pathway. It involves a criminal case, but then it turns civil, and there's just a lot of red tape, and the statute is very interesting, so I always took to those and loved those.
Well, law is law. It's you have to be able to navigate the statutes. You have to know all about these things, because if you, in a position of a civil court or in some capacity as the government, infringe on a right, then that's a big deal.
Yes.
You've got to be able to understand what it is that you're doing. And what I really liked about what you said there was that you really didn't know what you wanted to do, but you got into that and you really loved it. And I think I think everybody can identify with that. Right now our daughter, she's in the 8th grade, and they're talking about what do you want to do for a career, and it's like, wow, I can remember being there and not knowing what in the world to do or what you wanted to do, but the Lord kind of puts you in a place, and that works out because He's the one that knows anyway. So that's a good thing.
Yes.
So in the state position, all right, what do you think? I know that brings a lot of experience to the table that you've been used as part of your platform, so to speak. So Can you kind of flesh that out? What can you bring to the table as on the county level from the state?
Well, what I bring most importantly is knowledge. Aaron, I have so much knowledge about the courts. The DA's office. This week, I've been to the Harnett County DA's office, the Cumberland County DA's office, to help them with some processes and procedurally how to handle certain flows in the courtroom. And I work with magistrates. I know the magistrate process. So knowing not just the clerk process is very helpful, because if you know what your colleagues and their processes in their offices and how that works, it can really make your office that you're leading run more efficiently. And I really bring all of that judge's office. I know how the judge's office flows, and on a day-to-day basis, clerks across the state reach out to me and ask me questions. A lot of times I can just spout it off the top of my head and not even have to look it up. Sometimes I do have to look up statutes and rules of record keeping and things like that. But an example would be on my way here. I had a magistrate call me, driving down the road, and he said, Cashie, I hate to bother you, but I'm trying to process this bond. The bondsman has backed out on doing it, so I need to get it out of the system. XYZ. I said, you click here, select that. Does it say entered in error? Yes, it does. Okay, add a new setting. Plus sign. He did it right there on the fly with me driving here. And so just little things like that, it just is so valuable if I get elected and I'm in that seat to have that resource right there in our county. I had an opportunity to leave the administrative office of the courts and go work under a grant funded position with the Conference of District Attorneys.
Okay.
I was hired with the Conference of District Attorneys as a systems analyst. Okay. Well, in my mind, I thought, a systems analyst? Like, I don't, I'm not a computer programmer. Like, am I going to be able to do this? Well, it was a wonderful opportunity because what I actually did, I was a quality control tester for a case management system. We had a developer that we would go out in the field and ask enhancements that the DAs wanted to this case management system. And our developer would develop them. I would test them. I would test scripts. And then I had another colleague. She had another role that she played in. I did that for about 3 years. And you're talking about learning a lot. That was a wonderful opportunity for me to learn the behind the scenes of how the programming and testing scripts work. And that was an amazing venture that I thoroughly enjoyed. But it was a grant funded position, right. Great opportunity. But when the grant ran out, the administrative office of the court said, Cashie, we want you right back. So at that time is when the e-courts project has started.
Got it.
And I slid right in at the very beginning of that and was able to be a part of that project as a systems analyst. And I'm just appreciative of the career I've had with the judicial branch. Never in a million years did I plan on that. But it worked out, and the career has been very good to me.
Great. Well, now, as far as the e-courts program goes, was that like the very first modernization or implementation of electronic features to these records? Was that the very first time? Or was there like another iteration that was maybe not
quite? We have
quite
had a domestic violence e-filing program that had been rolled out, but nothing of this magnitude.
Yeah.
This is the biggest thing, and I'll tell you this. North Carolina is the only state that is fully electronic on e-courts.
Gotcha.
And when I say that, a lot of states, it's each municipalities, they can just buy or purchase whatever products they want. So this product is live in certain counties in certain states, but this is the first time they've ever taken it statewide because North Carolina courts run as a unified court system. So it's one system that's provided for the whole state.
Gotcha.
Also, interestingly enough, for years and years, the AOC had their own in-house IT shop. So we build our own products. And that changed with the purchase of the e-courts.
Gotcha. So that's like a brand, and the state kind of said, this is what we want to do.
This is what they bought. And there was a committee of, made up of people that chose this. I was not part of that committee at all. It was elected officials and users of the product, of future users of the product that chose. They had several vendors that were presented to them, and that the committee chose that. And when it was chosen, it was hit the ground running, and they hired lots of people. So that small group I talked about earlier, it grew. So I don't know how many of us there are now, but it's probably in the 70s.
Yeah, the implementation of technology like that requires all kinds of different people with different expertise. So it sounds like that was a big experience for you, lots of learning, and like you said, you got to see a lot of things that you wouldn't have seen normally in a position like that. So, and I think that's good. One of the things that you mentioned at the forum was that one of the things that you would do or the change that you would make, you said that you would get away from the COVID regulations in the clerk's office, and that shocked me that they were still doing business that way. Can you kind of speak to that, you think?
I can. So first of all, I want to say that it was genius that they did that during COVID to keep the courts moving, okay? And what it is prior to COVID, you could just walk in the civil office, for example. I'll use that because that's the office I worked in. And whoever was available, that person, and I worked the front counter when I worked there, so I caught most of the people. But if I was helping someone and you walked in and needed help, you would just go to someone's desk that wasn't helping someone. So but when COVID happened, as you know, everything changed for us. And we had to do what we had to do. And at that time, leadership in that office put carts at the door, and essentially they're like counters. So at the door, so now people come to those counters, and someone will get up from their desk and go to that counter and help you, and then you wait outside until your paperwork's finished. So you no longer come in the office.
I see.
And I think it's something that they got comfortable with, and it's working. But I would like to see us to move those carts and let people walk in, so that if you come into the office and someone in the office is helping you, and then I walk in behind you, there's another available clerk that can assist. Because with that cart in the doorway, you may not see somebody out there standing that's waiting.
Yeah. Right.
And again, it was perfect for COVID, but COVID's over, and I would just like to see the offices open back up.
Yeah, and it was more personal.
It was more personal, and and I know the ladies working in that office, they will be open to that, because they are all very much customer service. They want to do the best for the public, so I'm hoping that I can offer that to them, and they'll be accepting of that, because by no means am I going to go in and just say, bark out orders. We're going to talk about things, right. And I respect everyone that works in that office. And in fact, I've known a lot of them a long time, 20 plus years. So.
I would imagine so.
Yes.
So you've already, like I said, like you have said, you're familiar with the office, you're familiar with the people,
yes.
and that's great.
Yes.
So we don't want to keep it too long, but I just want to ask one other question.
Yes.
How's the campaign going?
It's going great. I'm feeling really good about it.
Good.
If anything, Aaron, I have learned so much from this. So no matter the outcome, but I'm going to win. I am the most qualified candidate for this position in many ways. And I'm going to keep my head down and just keep working hard every single day. I want to do the work. I think I'll be good at the job. I will be an asset, and I'm just going to keep doing like I'm doing. But overall, I have learned so much, and I'm thankful for the opportunity, and really thankful to all my family and friends and my community that have really supported me. I couldn't ask for better support.
Well, I know they're proud of you, and it takes a lot to put yourself out there, and I think you're doing a good job, and we want to thank you for joining us tonight on the Short Roads. Hope to see you again.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Thanks, Cashie.